Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Be You with Monique, where we believe in all things authenticity. Being you is a way of life that is okay, and oftentimes people let you feel like that it's not. But we're here to share with you it's okay to be your authentic self, and it's okay to show up that in every aspect of your life. I'm so happy to have my guest today. Dr. Derrick Harden. He has been a lifelong friend. Welcome, Dr.
Thank you,
Derrick,
Monique. I'm happy to be here with you. It's always good to see your face.
and yours too, my friend. One of the things now, people who know me and know my relationship with Derrick know that I love Derrick Harden. And I wanted people to know why I love Derrick Harden so much. So I was like, what's the best way of letting people know about this awesome person that's been in my life since my teens? So, Derrick, I'm going to pause and give you an opportunity to share with our listeners on who you
Well,
are.
thank you, Monique. And let me first just say, and I love you equally back. So, very nice, kind words that you shared. So, thank you. I don't know. I consider myself to be an internal optimist. Um, I get up every day looking to learn something new and to improve my life and to become a better version of myself. At least I think that's how I perceive myself. I'm not sure how others do, but that's how I would describe myself.
So, I affectionately call you Dr. D. Will you share with our listeners what do you have your doctorate in?
Sure, it is in community college leadership from Ferris State University. So I focused my educational research on the student experience.
Wonderful. See everybody, he's handsome and smart. That's my friend. So, Derek, I define authenticity as an expression of being consistent and honest with yourself on your values, beliefs, of who you are, and being willing to share you to the world unapologetically. How would you define authenticity?
I think for myself, authenticity is not something that all of a sudden just comes to you. It's this daily experience that you have to have consciously. But I think part of being authentic is understanding what your values are. And then how do you demonstrate that in your behaviors on a daily basis? And you have to be aware that you will fail many times at demonstrating those values. But I think it's just really important if you want to be an authentic person, an authentic partner, husband, wife, employee, you must understand your personal values.
So, thinking about the younger
Mhm.
version of you and who you are now, what would you say to that young Derek?
Wow. Okay. So many things I could say. But what I would say to the younger version of myself is to probably just relax. Uh, Things will be okay. When you're young, you kind of grow up with certain expectations in life and you want to get out and achieve certain things. And that's all good and well. But I think I would just tell myself, slow down, explore, have some more fun. Um, you got a life ahead of you. So when you're younger, take out the time to be curious.
So thinking about that curiosity and thinking about just how you just went through life on your own and you really are successful. I don't know if you consider yourself successful. I think that's really a personal gauge that we look at for ourselves. How do you use that curiosity today, and how did it look different when you were younger?
Well, so for me, considering myself today, so I'm 54 years old. I do consider myself successful, but not in terms of the things that I've achieved materially, but it's because of the person that I am and that I'm a happy person. I think that's really critical for defining what success looks like for you. But I think you kind of tied in how do I use my curiosity to be successful or happy today? I think I again, I wake up every morning wanting to learn something new. I don't go to work, I don't engage with other people thinking that I'm going to um, divulge some wisdom on everyone. I go into situations in work and my friendships or just places that I go with the hope that I can learn something. And it's always really important, at least it's been successful for me, or I've been successful at doing this. It's being able to go into any situation and to listen. And what I've learned is that when you're listening, you expand your perspective, you expand the opportunities that are afforded to you, um, and you become a better person.
Mhm. Staying on that same premise of the art of listening, how do you tie that into your purpose? How do you tie that into your why? Oftentimes we feel like, especially as African Americans, nobody takes us serious. We're always trying to prove ourselves. We're always trying to push the needle. And now you're saying, listen, how does that tie into, I want to be a successful woman, I want to be a successful man, but I don't feel like I'm
Mm.
being heard. How do you gauge those to make sure that you're still staying on a life of purpose and fulfilling your why?
I think when you ask a really good question, and as you were asking the question, I was listening carefully, and I thought about like this experience I had when I was in my early 20s, and I had a friend of mine, and he asked me this really simple, basic question. He asked me, Derek, what do you believe in? What do you stand for? And my response, I remember this, and I was smiling as I was kind of pondering it, that all of a sudden I felt myself going into this uh, explanation, rambling about who I thought I wanted to be. And he wasn't even asking me to respond. It was just my natural reaction to respond to that question. And to be quite honest, out of anxiousness and because I didn't know what I stood for. But I think what I take from those experiences, it's always really important that you pause. And that's what I'm learning and listening, is that you pause. And in that moment, I was listening to myself. Derek, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you believe in at this point in time. So why did you even speak? So, or you said, right now, I don't want to answer that question, or just thank you for challenging me with that question. So I've often thought about that moment at different times in my life, and what that has caused me to do is to constantly have these pauses in life and to be able to listen to myself and say, Derek, do you make sense? Do you believe what you're saying? Are you really convinced about who you want to be? And I think it's those constant questions. And it certainly doesn't mean that at different times in life you should be very confident in who you are, but you should also be confident in exploring and being curious about other things in life. You could still be confident and learn at the same time.
Mhm. Thank you for that. That's a real good way of looking at that. And as you were talking, I was thinking you have to be willing to be retrospective about you and how you are showing up. And am I being authentic to myself? I think sometimes in those anxious moments, we'll fill in the gap because we don't want to be judged. And we'll put on just to get through the situation. Um, Thinking about how you advanced in your career, how difficult was it to be truly authentic?
I would say it's a journey. Um, I think my earlier version of myself, my career, I was often anxious about situations and would judge myself or judge the situation. And then when you go through life, whether it's at work or home or whatever it may be, you realize when you can reflect that that next moment will come. So again, sometimes it's like when you have all that anxiety, particularly when you're younger and you're not sure what to do or how is something that I'm perceiving, is it accurate? Um, what situation is someone trying to put me in? I find when you are able to pause, self-reflect, you're able to think better. You're able to be more rational. You're better able to make career choices and decisions in your life, and that's really proven to be helpful to me. I'm not one that tends to react in situations where sometimes people may feel like, well, Derek, why did you allow that to happen? Uh, I acknowledge that perspective, but at the same time, I also know that people don't understand my experience and how I walk through my journey. And my journey is often listening so that I'm not reacting and that I could strategize and navigate a path forward through every situation.
So I want you to think back now to going back to the career and advancement, and what would you say were maybe two or three key factors to help you stay on the path of being true to yourself, stay on the path of being curious, stay on the path of really being gracious, because that's what I'm hearing you say, that graciousness to yourself, that empathy towards self. What were some factors that you can share with our audience that helped you along the way?
Well, it kind of goes back to some of the earlier questions you asked. It's about understanding your values and where you stand. But I think also in your career, you're oftentimes challenged, depending on no matter what career field you're in, you're oftentimes challenged because if you're growing in your leadership position or you're going into different environments, you're bringing yourself, you're bringing your personal values, but then at the same time, you're interacting and engaging with all these people that you have no familiarity with, people with very different values, very different languages than you, very different perspectives about life and what they bring to work. Oftentimes, it does bring conflict. Um, but I think for me, particularly as I've gone up in higher level positions, it's important for me to understand who I am and to be solid in that, but also at the same time to broaden my perspective. And this is where the confidence thing I think comes in for me is that I can confidently stand on my values while at the same time understanding that who I'm speaking to right now, I know I don't agree with them, but I can still open my ear and listen to what they have to say.
Mhm. So, being confident is, I think, one of the things that you said, and having those value systems that are personal for you and being true to those values, not wavering them as you grow in whatever field you go into. Can you talk to me about how important mentors are or friends are, people who surround you are to being true to your authentic self?
Uh, Having mentors is really, really important. I mean, I feel like we all have different personalities, and I will just share with you. Well, and you know me. Um, I'm an introvert, uh, and while I am an introvert, I do enjoy interacting with people. I get some energy out of it. So for me, my mentors have been people who are not always in my life, but people that I highly regard and respect. And for me, you should be able to have a mentor. Let me just talk from Derek's perspective. I think that having an effective mentor means that I could have someone in my life that I don't regularly talk to on a bi-weekly, monthly, every 6 months basis, but that I could reflect on the conversations that we have had, and that conversation has been so substantive that it's provided guidance throughout 6 months or a year or whatever. uh, I think it is really important to have those people in your life. But I also want to say that mentors, like anyone else, are human beings. They have their faults and their flaws. So to be overly reliant on a mentor or someone that you regard, highly regard, can be a really dangerous situation and where you can lose yourself if you're not careful.
I won't put you on the spot and say, share a time where you did that, but I won't do that. I won't do that to you today. But I think what you said has so much value. I have a lot of mentors. They don't know that I'm their mentee, but I do. There are so many people that I follow online that I just glean from their knowledge and their wisdom and their own personal stories. Like one of my new mentors is, I love football. Like I when I say love, Derek, it's bad. I love it. And just watching the the story of how Deion Sanders took the Colorado Buffalo team and really has changed not just the team, but it's changed the city, it's changed the state, It's changed college football. I really believe his impact has even changed national football. And some of the he's definitely a motivational person, and some of the things that he shares online through his son and other media sources are just phenomenal. Like, he usually has a word of the week for the team. So I'm like, what's our word of the week, coach? Because this is what I'm going to implement in my life. He says, we believe, I believe. I believe that I can conquer these things. I believe I can, you know, overcome my battles. I believe I can face adversity and come out triumphant, because it really is belief. It's the mindset. And as a therapist, I teach the stuff all the time, but really to implement it in my life. And I just want to share to our listeners, sometimes we feel like, especially African Americans, we feel like we don't have access to people who have quote unquote made it. But we have social media, we have the internet, we have libraries, we have other people that we can connect with who values align with our values. And that's what keeps resonating in this conversation. Values. What are your values? And I think one of my questions to you is, who helps shape your value? Because I don't feel like we get there on our own. I think it's our responsibility to, once, growing up and our parents are teaching us different things, it's like they
Mm.
pass the baton, and now it's our responsibility to take it forward. So, who would you say what were your influences for shaping your values?
Well, thank you for that perspective. I really do. You kind of challenged me in that, and I think that, of course, my family are, my mom and dad and my brothers were very influential in establishing my personal values. My grandparents, having a really strong work ethic, understanding who you are, even within a group of people, but also just my faith has been a really strong influence in my personal values, as well as the experiences that I've had in life. And I will say that the experiences that I've had, equal to my faith and my family, has helped me to challenge those values and deepen them. So for me, when I look back on life, I think about, okay, go back to that question that my friend had asked me. Well, Derek, who are you? What do you stand for? At that moment, I didn't really understand, although I had a foundation. But I think the experiences, or even just that experience, helped to deepen who I was as a person. And it's like the combination of all those things really help to develop you as a person. But again, you always have to be listening to those experiences and understanding, like, where do you fit in this? But also saying, okay, I felt like this maybe 10 years ago, or I felt like this when I was 12, and I had really strong feelings about this then. Well, now I'm 25. My perspective has changed a little bit. Where does that take me? How does that challenge my values? How does that make me think about the world differently, or even myself differently? Um, I think all of those different types of things is what helps to grow and develop a strong foundation in your values and who you are. And when you really have that, no one ever can take away that from you. I will share. I think in some of my work experiences, those are the places where they have most challenged some of my values and understanding. Derek, you're in this situation and you need a job. You got to pay your bills. You want that car. You want that house. But how bad do you really want it? And when people challenge you in these situations that you feel like threaten your livelihood, that's that real test. Where do you stand? How are you going to respond, not react, respond in that situation, understanding your values, but also understanding the test you're in. And I think that also requires a lot of faith.
Absolutely. And I appreciate your take on that. I want to say, for me, I think one of the things, in addition to my coach, and I hope he hears this, Coach Prime, I love you. Just in case, I believe, just in case he hears the podcast. But on another note, I think growing up, and we've talked about this offline before, growing up, I was always one who I wasn't trying to get in trouble. I really was interested in being around people who were for something. I really didn't even have the words to identify or explain what my mission was, but I knew I wanted more out of life. So it was important to me to be around people who were on that same trajectory. And you were one of those individuals. You didn't know that. You can go out like, hey, I really look up to you, but I did. I mean, I think in one situation, I won't share what that
Oh,
situation was, but I was like, you're our hero, Derek. You're our hero. Because I saw at a very young age, you would stand up for things where other people wouldn't. And I was like, wow, just to have that boldness and that clarity of who you are and what you're willing to commit to at such a young age, where people a lot older than us what weren't doing, was so phenomenal to me. And I really feel like it helped shape who I was, because sometimes I would say, what would Derek do? I would be in meetings and where I was feeling challenged. And I remember saying, what did Derek do in this situation? And I did it because you were the forerunner. You're a little bit older than me. I won't say a lot. I won't say a lot, but you were like my hero. And we would say that on the sideline. You wouldn't hear it. But just seeing you navigate life and systems and still being you was so
thank
inspirational
you,
to
man.
me. And I appreciate you doing that, because I know that's not always easy. It's not always easy. So thinking about, I know you work with the youth, and um, thinking about your work with youth, what is that one message that you would love for them to just hold on to as they go through college, as they go through their lives? What is one message you would want them to know?
First, let me say thank you, Monique. I really appreciate you sharing those kind thoughts. And I think I do know what situation you were talking about, but we could talk about that some other time. But anyway, um, I think about, well, so let me just say, I'm a vice president at a community college. And what I like to tell people about what I do is that I help students who have everyday challenges in life achieve their educational goals. That's what I do ultimately. And I think that uh, what I like to project is hope. And I know that in my own personal and educational journey and experience, and I'll share with you if you don't mind. It took me 6 years to get a 4 year degree. It took me 3 years to get a master's degree, and it took me 5 years to get a doctorate degree. So in every situation, it took me almost 150% of the time to get at that degree within the normal standard in which you get that degree. When I reflect on that situation, I always remind myself is don't compare your journey to someone else's. And so, what is that standard? That standard might be someone else's standard, but that doesn't have to be my standard. So, what I try to project for the students that I come in contact with is that regardless of your situation or your circumstance, if you stay focused on your goal, we can make it happen. And I was just recently in a professional development session, and I won't say it exactly how they said it, but they said something like, if you believe, or the way that you believe in overcoming a challenge affects your behavior in overcoming that challenge. If you don't believe it, you're not going to do it. If you believe it, you're going to find all kinds of ways to achieve whatever you're looking to achieve. And so I guess ultimately at the end of the day, I pray that I demonstrate hope, confidence, and a belief in myself that others can take away and have the same feelings about themselves so that they can overcome whatever situation, circumstance that they might be in. That's absolutely none of my business. That might be 10 times worse than any experience that I have. But for me, if a student can look at me and say, well, Derrick was hopeful. I could use that hope and overcome any situation. Then I feel like I've served a purpose in life.
Now, friend, I've never heard you say that. That was beautiful. Can
Thank
I
you.
just say that was beautiful? I just had a moment. I said, "Oh, we in church? No, he not a preacher."
Well, you know that's where we grew up, so
I said, "Oh, listen." It's just ingrained in all of us. But that was so beautiful. Like I really appreciate you sharing that. I teach part-time at the Ohio State University, and that is my feeling. Like I need to give you hope that you can do this. I need to let you know that weeping, I'm about to use a scripture, but weeping may endure for a night, but joy will come. And that joy is that you on the other side of it. Sometimes I feel like we just get so enclosed with the now, what's happening now, that we can't see the next. And the next is keep pushing, keep going. You'll get through it. You will get through it. We got through it. And I'm not about to tell the folk how long it took me to get all the degrees I got, but I do I do appreciate your transparency. Just just know I got them too. Okay, praise God. Um, so I just want to switch real quick and just do some quick rapid
sure.
fire questions so our audience to get to know you a little bit better. And these are really just coming off the top of my head, friend. I did not think about how I was going to ask them, and I because I kind of wanted them to be authentic. So let's just start with favorite color,
Green,
favorite time of the year,
fall,
favorite ice cream.
butter pecan,
That's mine too. Favorite day of the week.
Friday.
And the last question is favorite friend. You can say Monique
Oh,
Pfeiffer. It's okay.
well, of course, it's Monique Pfeiffer. I say that confidently.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We're not gonna get you in trouble with our other friends. I set him up for that one, y'all. But I think my last question for you, Dr. D, which I love to call you, so proud of you. What's your next?
It's funny when you ask that question. I almost had the same feeling when my friend asked me, "Well, Derek, what do you stand for?" And I felt like I was about to like go on this ramble. Um, and I have to say, I don't know, but what I will say is I do feel like right now somehow I'm in this position in this place. You know, I finished my doctorate degree later in life. I'm 54, so I'm a little bit later in my career. You know, I live in Racine, Wisconsin. I don't, have any family or close friends I grew up with here in Racine. And for some reason, I have this faith and this belief in my mind that I'm in the perfect position to do whatever it is that I'm supposed to do next. And instead of getting anxious about it, that I lean into it. So, I work in a community college. I just got a doctorate degree. Most people say, okay, well, Derek, are you thinking about becoming a president? I don't know. I don't have that question. I don't. That's not a desire I could say right now that I have. However, what I can say is that I'm open to all of the possibilities, and I make sure that I lean into my experience right now that I'm having to create as many opportunities for me in life because I feel like I'm 54. I still have a lifetime ahead of me. There's all kinds of things that I could achieve. It can be in education. It may not be in education. I might solve, a world crisis. I don't know. You never know. So all I can say confidently is that I'm leaning into the space where I am right now, and I feel like I definitely have a path forward, and I'm going to lean on that path. So, and my personal values and my faith. So,
Yeah, I when I asked that question, I did think I was like, "Ooh, that's almost like who are you?" Um, but you answered that
well,
very
thanks.
beautifully, and thank you. One thing that I do know is whatever you do, you're going to be awesome at it. And I'm so proud of you. I've told you that before, but I'll say it publicly now. So proud of who you are, the man you are, how you are there for your friends and your family and your community and the youth that you serve. I think I love seeing you happy because when you're happy, I'm happy. And I thank you for just sharing your knowledge, your experience with the audience, because I know you said something that can change the trajectory of their life. I totally believe in having conversations of transformation, and I believe that this was one. So
I
thank you,
have to
Dr.
say,
Derrick. Thank
I
you
have
for
to say
being on.
thank you, Monique, and thank you
Go ahead.
for inviting me. I think that I'm paying forward what life has given to me, and the opportunity to be friends with someone like you, and I say this sincerely, and all of the experiences that I've had growing up in the environment where we both grew up in has really helped to form who I am, and I am grateful for every one of those experiences. And most definitely, I'm grateful for the friendship that you and I have. So thank you, Monique. I really do love you.
Oh, now you're gonna get me crying on the thing. Lord Jesus, can't let these people see me cry. Lord. But thank you all for listening to Dr. Derrick Harden with the Be You with Monique podcast. Stay tuned for much more. I sure hope you enjoyed the podcast today. If there was something that inspired you, encouraged you in any way, I hope you will subscribe, follow, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, be you.